Our vision is to inspire the world and remove limiting beliefs in your mind. At Sprinkle with Hope, our mission is to inspire you to live your best life by sharing stories of hope, resilience, courage, and overcoming adversity.
We believe that everyone has the potential to lead a joyful, fulfilling life, and we hope to encourage and motivate you to pursue your dreams.
Welcome to the Sprinkled with Hope podcast.
This is Jason. And this is Shane.
And it's podcast time.
Welcome to your Sprinkle with Hope podcast and your host, Shane. Today, our guest is Katie Ross. So excited to get to talk to her. I followed her for quite some time. I'm actually looking at her website, jollysoul.com. If you want to look it up, go for it. She's got some amazing things, but she says she started this because of her own struggles and just turned to the internet for help and realized quotes and words can make a difference. So as you know, Jason and I love to share quotes, and I want to share one that Katie has shared. She says, "Take control of your destiny today. It only takes one decision." So Katie, I want to start off by asking you what your destiny is and the decision that you made to sort of get on that path.
Okay, so what my destiny is.
Yes.
Oh, I hope that my destiny would be to help as many people as possible. I think that I've always been that kind of person who people generally ask or advice of or come to when it's, they may be struggling with something or ask my opinion on something. So I just generally have always gravitated towards helping people, and I feel that over sort of my life, I've definitely learned a lot of things that I feel would help other people. And that was sort of the premise of Jolly Soul, really. A lot of people had asked my advice and they'd be like, "Oh, where did you hear that? Or where could I find that piece of information?" And so I just started to write most of other people's quotes down at first. And then I just started to obviously write my own. So I think in terms of destiny, I would say that it would just be to help as many people as I possibly can and give them the advice and the things that have really helped me along the way. And hopefully it helps other people, live their best life, or at least find happiness, find that inner peace and happiness, really.
I love it. And I love that, you're wearing your shirt that says Jolly Soul on it, right?
Absolutely. Representing. Always. I love wearing these shirts because people always kind of look at it and they're always like, "Oh, what is that?"
I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's just
So I love that, like Jolly Soul. So what does kind of Jolly Soul mean to you, and kind of how did that kind of evolve, and talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So in terms of, obviously, soul to me is kind of that thing that's behind everything, the thing that's behind thinking even. So I always kind of give the example of, if you were to read a book or something, or sing a tune in your mind, that you are kind of the thing that's behind that can hear that. And that to me is what the soul is. And in terms of jolly, it was kind of, it's like, I always feel like you can't really say jolly without kind of smiling and being a little happier. So I just found that those two words together really, really worked. And just in a nutshell, brought around like the happiness and soul and kind of what those two things are together. And what it means, Jolly Soul, is sort of happiness inside.
Sometimes I have an idea of how these discussions might go. With you, Katie. I had a feeling that it was going to go just like this, like you said, you can't say jolly without being happy. And
that's it.
So we're talking about happiness, and the soul is so important. Other times I have no expectations. I don't know how the discussion is going to go, but having followed you for some time, I just knew that this discussion would be a very happy and
Happy and positive. That's what I tend to bring to the equation. Generally speaking, a lot of people would say I'm very happy. Someone mentioned that to me the other day, actually, when I went to the gym. The owner of the gym was like, every time I see you, you're so happy. It's amazing, isn't it? Like happiness kind of spreads, and
Right.
you know, people feel it. I'm a massive believer in energy, and that, you know, I really can feel that energy of people, and I just, you know, so I always think, you know, if I can bring that happiness through my own energy, and you know, I do that in different ways, but I try to maintain and make sure that, you know, whether I'm, you know, taking time out to meditate or just to raise my own personal happiness, I always think that it's going to have an effect on other people.
yeah, I totally agree with that. I think the energy that we put out, it can attract people that want that energy. Others are like, oh, you're too much for me, and I don't want that. But you know, again, having followed you, I'm so excited that we got a chance to talk to you, because you make my soul very jolly and happy. And so with additional, you know, is there anything else that you're working on? I know you do a lot of writing, but is there, you know, I like to always ask you, is a book in the works, or, you know, those type of things?
I think obviously there's the I'll do a lot of quotes on the page on Instagram, and I think it would naturally be a lovely thing to be able to put those quotes together in sort of a format of a book. I also have kind of a bit of a handbook that I've been working on as a book. So I've got lots of things that I've kind of picked up along the way in terms of, you know, how I would start my day and kind of maintaining my personal peace, as it were. And I think that I feel like having a handbook would be really beneficial. So that's something that I've really been thinking about. And I have a podcast as well. I did start the podcast just talking about the quotes initially, and we're looking at, well, we've actually recorded 4 episodes with interviews. So we've had a sort of a chat with some sports people and some recognized kind of successful people in certain fields, which I'll be bringing out in March time, so sort of spring, I suppose that's called to you guys. So March, spring. It is to us. I don't know why I said it in that way, but yes, it's spring here too. But yes, I'll be releasing some of those podcasts, and hopefully they'll help. That's again on the premise of kind of understanding like how people live their day to day. I always find it really interesting how someone will look at life in one way, and it can be like the same example, but someone will look at it in a different way. So I'm really interested about how people sort of go about life, really, and how maybe someone could be successful in something and someone won't be, or someone finds happiness in something and then someone doesn't. I always find that really, really interesting. So that's kind of the premise of the sort of new series within the podcast. So that's Becoming a Jolly Soul, and that's on obviously all platforms. But so that'll be in March when I bring out the new series of that.
Nice.
That's awesome. I love your energy, and I hope that, you know, the listeners can feel that energy. And so how have you kind of seen, you know, your positive attitude, your happiness kind of rub off on others, and how do you see that, you know, see their lives better because of happiness?
I think I know that my children in particular are incredible. Like, I mean, everyone's going to be like, oh, their children are incredible, they're like amazing people. But like, I do feel that my 2 children, I've got 2 little girls, one's 8 and one's 10 at the moment, and they're just the most beautiful, kind. I mean, sometimes like they teach me, you know, like the odd time I'll be like, they reflect back at me something like kindness that I've taught them, and just the way in which to sort of behave in life. And I'm often like, wow, like they have been kind of my example of almost like good teaching, as it were. just I think like one thing that we have as a family is gratitude. We really focus on that, and we really focus on kindness. So with everything, and I really wasn't, not that I wasn't brought up to be kind or grateful, but I never really understood it and was able to see that value. And then what I've seen it within my children and their appreciation of things has been really beautiful to see. So I know that it's definitely affected them. And I don't know, like I said, people generally come to me with advice, questions, things like that. And also just are always like, you've got such a jolly soul, you've got such a good energy. So I do tend to feel that, yeah, I do help in that way with people. And I feel like that's, yeah, I hope that the words that I write as well on Instagram, I suppose, I hope that they help. I feel sometimes I need those words, or sometimes it's a lesson that I've learned and I feel, this is going to really connect. And I hope that it makes people think. I know, like with myself, with the power of kind of finding a quote, I know, like I said, obviously I started the journey from being in sort of a really dark place. And I know that when I was in sort of my darkest of places, I would kind of look for something, just like a glimmer of hope, as it were, sort of, even if it was just on the internet. And I would just feel, it's so bizarre to sort of get to that point in yourself where it can seem like there's no hope, sort of thing, if you see what I mean. And so I really wanted to, I would find that hope within like a few words. And I found how wonderful that literally a few words could completely change the way I was thinking, even if it was just a few hours or a day or so. I found that really magical. So that was why I really try to focus on the quotes that I write, because I just feel that it could really reach someone in that moment. And I've had actually messages from people via social media saying that, like, one person actually told me that it had saved their life on that particular day, that they were going to do something completely irreversible to themselves, and that would have been it. And I was like, that is just amazing, not unbelievable, because I get that power of words, but I was like, that is just amazing that could have done that. And I feel like sometimes, you're not sure if it's going to work, help someone, but then when you get that kind of feedback from people, it's just amazing, really amazing that it could help someone in that way.
That's so true. I love what you're saying, starting with your children and that they can teach us things. I agree with you. I think some of the older generation, not that they're not kind and grateful, but it seems like people are talking about those things a lot more and being vocal about those things. And then you ended with saying, some words that we say can really affect people. I just wanted to share really quick. Yesterday, one of my friends on Facebook posted a picture. It was a picture of a river, and all I said was, wow. And they said, Shane, thank you so much for always being positive. And I said, all I said was, wow. And they said, but it's all the other stuff that you say that I'm really grateful for. And I was like, I was blown away, because I'm not positive to get anything in return. It's just who I am. And I think, Katie, you're the same way. You started Jolly Soul because you also talked about some dark places that you were in. And we love stories like that, where you go through hard things, but then you open yourself up to the world and say, I want to help. And your words are the things that help.
Yeah. And I think it's those experiences, like I know for myself, when I was in that dark place or prior to that, I was always using like words in the worst way. So I would always be kind of like a self-attacking maybe. And the words that I was saying were things that were, not good for my own self-esteem. And I think one of the things, especially with my children, when I had the girls, I made a real conscious effort to say, actually, no more. And I feel like there's been so many things that have helped me get to the place I am now. But one of them, again, was words in a different way, that I was saying these things and, saying all of this, horrible stuff to myself. And it was fine to do that. I was like, okay with it, and actually able to go, wait a minute, that's not right. And I felt like that leverage came from having the girls, and I looked at them and I thought, how beautiful you are, like how wonderful these little people are. And how is it okay that they, I would never want them to speak like that about themselves. I'd never want them to
Right.
feel bad about themselves or say anything like that. And I was like, well, I have to be that mentor in their life and be the person that I would like them to be or accept, if you see what I mean. So I was just like, I'm not going to let myself say that, because then for fear that they may say that. I would never want them to do that. And I think like that's one thing that a lot of people don't always recognize is the words that they're saying. And sometimes people will say it, as a joke, like, oh, I don't know if it's like detrimental to something of themselves, or they'll say these things and it means so much. And that was a real starting point for myself. I felt that I was able to, when I made that transition of actually accepting what I was going to say about myself and change those words, that was another thing that helped me with words especially.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, and it really, kind of rings to my mind like this paradigm shift that we need to make, because we all like to talk about ourselves. Like that's generally, people like to talk about what they're doing and the things that are great in their life, but then yet on the same breath we're also able to talk negatively to ourselves with no problems at all. So it's almost like this weird paradigm shift we have to make, where it's like, if we like talking about ourselves, then why are we talking negative about ourselves also? It's kind of seems like a little bit of a,
I know, like in England, I would say that it's always that, like people don't want to come across as too arrogant or egotistical. But I feel like there's like that fine line where it's like, it's better for your own like mental health to speak well of yourself. And if someone doesn't like that, then that's okay. Like, but maybe you'll inspire them to go, well, actually, they speak quite well of themselves. Maybe I'll speak well of myself then a little bit more, and just make it like not taboo, make it normal that, you can be like, pull yourself up and be like, this is, I'm, doing a good thing, or you don't even have to do that. Just don't speak negatively about yourself.
Yeah.
I always think you've got to try to switch your negative thoughts as well. So, like that didn't happen overnight just because I decided that I wasn't going to speak negatively. It didn't mean that I was able to just go, all right, I'm not doing that anymore.
right.
So, it was like, it took so much time to do that. I feel like it was one of those things that I made that conscious effort and went, right, okay. So, and then obviously these things would come up and then I would say, right, well, let's change that thought. Let's, and it's just, it's repetition, and that's as it is with everything. I think it's really important. Like even positivity, you start on that that road of being positive, and you need to keep working on these things if you want your life to change like that.
That's so true. So
absolutely true. I'm looking behind you, and you looks like you have a couple of quotes. Would you mind sharing one of those with us?
Yeah, of course. I've put the most beautiful thing about kindness is that no matter how small it is, it always makes the world a better place.
Oh, that's so
good.
That is so good. I love that one.
Like I just think, like, don't you think that kindness is beautiful? Like I always feel like it really warms 100%. My soul. Like, and it also, I think the beautiful thing about kindness is that when you see it, so you want to be more kind to other people yourself. Like if someone's kind to me, I'm like, oh, I need to go out and be like more kind. It's a beautiful reminder, isn't it? And it always kind of helps. It's amazing.
It really is. I have very much enjoyed this discussion, Katie. So glad that we got to meet you and talk to you this way.
And you guys, thank you so much. It's lovely to meet with you.
It's not often that we get to meet people that we look up to, so I appreciate that. So near the end of our podcast, we have what we call the double down dose.
Okay.
I have a question, then Jason will ask the second question. The first one is, how would you define hope?
Hope. Okay. I think that hope is something that means it's like not over. That's what I think of hope, that there's always hope. My children, I know I'm talking about them a lot, but my girls, I gave them their middle name. One's Hope and one's Faith, so that between them they always have hope and faith in together. Because I think that's really important, to have hope and faith in the unseen and be able to find belief in goodness, in a better tomorrow, in hope that your dreams may come together. So yeah, so hope to me, I think hope is so important, but that it just means that it's not over, that there is still hope no matter what. That's what it means.
I love it. No, Shane and I, we obviously we want to spread positivity and hope as well. I mean, hope is our message. And so
Yeah.
thank you for,
What does it mean to you guys?
That's a really good question.
It is a good question. And hope to me is everything. Hope is knowing that, you know, there's better things to come on the horizon.
Yeah.
Right. That I, even if I'm in a really bad situation or I am feeling down today, that there's hope that tomorrow will be better and I can wake
Absolutely.
up ready for a new day, to try all over again, to be better at the things that I lack, right?
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
for me, it's just the outlook to see that there's always something to look forward to, and that life is going to give you opportunities if you take action. It's not going to just come to you, but if you're taking action to go get those things, then you're going to find more hope and all of those things. So to me, it's looking out to the future, but it's also taking action to get that.
And it's like, I hope so much that people do take that action. Like, that's one thing that I find is soul destroying, when you sit on the things that are in your soul, you know, like if there's something that you want to do, or there's something that you enjoy, that, you know, I hope that people will go out and actually do those things, and because it just makes you feel better. I feel like that does lead to darkness when you're not following these things that like bring you light, you know.
Amen.
I totally agree. I love this discussion. I love this discussion. And so the second question for the double down dose for you today, Katie, is what is your definition of love?
Ooh, love. Love is everything to me. I think that love is in everything. I see it in the good. I literally said this week, I was like, the Beatles had it so right. Love is like the answer. I think it is. I just think it's so beautiful, isn't it, love? I think love is, you know, it's like the small things, it's the big things, but the feeling of love, or just that, what I said, is that
That's exactly why we asked this. We want to get just different perspectives on something that seems so simple, but when you think about it, it might be like, well, I've never thought about it.
yeah. I literally had said this week that, you know, the Beatles had it, that love is the answer. You know, it's just like, if we could all just come back to that in all walks of life, in, you know, just to focus on that, let each other be each other, not be too over opinionated about what we've got going on, and what, you know, just always go, you know what, let's have mutual love, mutual respect for one another. And that, in my opinion, would make the world like such a better place, if we could just always come at things from love. That would be really incredible.
100%.
Yeah, we completely agree with you. And again, Katie, thank you so much for this discussion. You've given us some great insight. If you don't follow her on Jolly Soul, look her up on Instagram, look her up on jollysoul.com. Katie, thank you so much for your time.
No problem. It's been really wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me on here. It's amazing. Thank you. And I love what you guys are doing. So amazing.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on with us, Katie. I really appreciate your time and just the words that you've spoken. And I would say, in conclusion, is there any last kind of parting words that you'd like to share with our audience before we close out this podcast session today?
I just hope that people really think about their happiness, and that they follow the things that they want to do, and that they realize how precious time and that life is, and that, you know, it's not worth wasting on negativity, on hate, and all of these things, and just focus on hope and love, which is beautiful.
I love it.
That's it.
Thanks, Katie.
No problem. Okay.